Good morning, everybody. My name is Remy Tallow, and I use she, her pronouns. I serve as one of your Board of Trustees members, and I'm happy to welcome all of you to Tahoma UU, whether you're here or on Zoom. Um, from the congregation I came from before this, our tradition was to either share joy or sorrow. So today I'm going to share joy that my wife is up here speaking today. So this will be her second and possibly final time. Um, so thank you guys for having her here. Unitarian Universalists are a community of people who hold many beliefs, many origins, identities, sexualities, and genders. We uphold and celebrate the inherent dignity of every person, which means you are welcome here just the way you are. Love is the power that holds us together as we gather in community to seek life's deeper meanings and to celebrate the diversity of all living things. We are all growing with and learning from one another. If you're here for the first time, we bid you a special welcome. After the service, I'll be in the sanctuary, probably in the sound booth, because I'm also working there today. Or if you have any questions about Unitarian Universalism at all, just come ask. I also encourage you to explore our website, tahomauu.com. At that website, you can sign up for our weekly e-news that includes information about the important and fun events going on in our congregation. There's a lot of events going on. For example, on Sunday, May 24th, Margot has a Muffins with Margot. Actually, it says May 31st on the flyer next Sunday, and it's going to be before service, so 9:15 to 10:15 a.m. And it's just going to be there for a social gathering if you guys would like to chat and have snacks. Also, on the back of your order of service is a list of events, like the walking group and a breakfast group. I'm also hosting a crafting night. Traditionally, we've held them at here at the congregation. We're going to be moving them to our location, our house in Olympia. So if you're interested, text the number on the back and I can give you that location. You're also invited to join us for social hour immediately following the service right over here by the windows. For those of you who are newer to our community, we have some red mugs if you want people to come and speak out or, seek you. If you want people to, I don't know, just look at you and maybe not pursue you, just use the white cups. Um, if you're someone who would benefit from a large print hymnal or hearing assistance devices, we have them in the back of the sanctuary. And we want to remind everyone that our services are available through Zoom and posted to YouTube, which means if you come up here, you're going to be on those videos. As we begin our service in this beautiful place called Tahoma by local indigenous tribes and nations, I acknowledge that we meet today on the land of the Coast Salish people, including the Puyallup tribal nation, land from which they were forcibly displaced. I honor the resiliency of indigenous people and stand with them as they continue to protect their culture, land, and water, and fight for their visibility, sovereignty, and very existence. Lastly, please set your electronic devices to worship mode. Let us exhale deeply and settle ourselves in this holy moment of sharing and receiving. Now let us join together in worship.
Friends, family, guests, whether in the sanctuary today or streaming online from Portland, Oregon, or across the nation, welcome. I am Stephanie Miller. I am a retired Army officer. I retired 6 months to the day tomorrow. Today we gather in the long shadow and in the quiet light of Memorial Day, a day shaped by remembrance, by grief, and by the enduring human need to honor those who are no longer beside us. Born in the aftermath of the Civil War as Decoration Day, this observation began with no triumph, but with mourning, with flowers placed gently upon graves, with names spoken aloud, and with communities struggling to understand the cost of conflict. In the Unitarian Universalist community, we gather not to glorify war, but to remember the dignity of every human life touched by it. We hold space for complexity, for sacrifice and sorrow, for services and questioning, for patriotism rooted not in exclusion or conquest, but in compassion, responsibility, and hope for a more peaceful world.
Good morning. I'm Chrissy Kim. I use she, her pronouns, and I am your celebrant today. It's nice to be here in the sanctuary. I'm usually joining you from Zoom these days. I'm going to invite Cindy up to introduce our cellist later.
Good morning. Haven't been in this side of the pulpit for a long time. It's so good to see all of you. And this morning we would like to invite John Courtwright and honor John Courtwright. We'd like to invite him to light the chalice. John has been a very active and important member of our community since fall of 2024. He is going to be heading out on his next adventure. Next Sunday will be his last Sunday with us. He will be heading out on the, what is it called again? Pacific Northwest Trail? Out on the Pacific Northwest Trail, and then heading back east from there. He has been and is a very valued member of our community. And I'd really like to recognize his willingness to do anything with the most energetic and incredibly efficient and good cheer way in which he does that. So today's coffee hour, which has many vegan options, is in honor of John, so he doesn't have just carrot sticks available. Thank you, John.
Yes, your presence will be missed. And now if you'll join me in the chalice lighting words on the screen. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and holiness of life, in honor and gratitude for those who have gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come. And now, if you will turn in your hymnal, the gray one, to 123, Spirit of Life. And unfortunately, our song leader has not shown up, so you get my voice. I sing with kids all the time, but it's not the best voice. So you get me. Oh, I love it. Thank you. From over there. Okay. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart, And now it is our time for all ages. As we do every week, if you brought any foods for our food donation to our local food pantry, if you would hold them up, and I would invite the children present to gather them up and bring them up front for us. We have full hands today. One more in the back, one on the side, in the middle. We have a generous congregation and not a lot of kids here today. Right in the middle there. Do you see the bag? Perfect. Nice. Oh, glad you found it. Then I would invite those young and young at heart to join me in the front for our time for all ages. And we have a video today, so we're going to watch the video first.
Bedtime books with Pink and Dane. Books with Pink and Dane. Shh.
The Invisible String by Patrice Cast. Illustrated by Joanne Lou Vreetoff. Liza and Jeremy, the twins, were asleep one calm and quiet night. Suddenly, it began to rain very hard. Thunder rumbled until it got so loud that it woke them up. "Mummy! Mummy!" they cried as they ran to her. "Don't worry, you two. It's just the storm making all that noise. Go back to bed." "We want to stay close to you," said Jeremy. "We're scared." Mum said, "You know we're always together, no matter what." "But how can we be together when you're out here and we're in bed?" said Liza. Mum held something right in front of them and said, "This is how." Rubbing their sleepy eyes, the twins came closer to see what Mum was holding. I was about your age when my mummy first told me about the invisible string. "I don't see a string," said Jeremy. "You don't need to see the invisible string. People who love each other are always connected by a very special string made of love." "But if you can't see it, how do you know it's there?" asked Liza. "Even though you can't see it with your eyes, you can feel it with your heart and know that you are always connected to everyone you love. When you're at school and you miss me, your love travels all the way along the string until I feel it tug on my heart. And when you tug it right back, we feel it in our hearts," said Jeremy. "Does Jasper the cat have an invisible string?" Liza asked. "She sure does," said Mum. "And best friends like me and Lucy?" asked Liza. "Best friends too." "How far can the string reach?" "Anywhere and everywhere," Mum said. "Would it reach me even if I were a submarine captain deep in the ocean?" asked Jeremy. "Yes," Mum said, "even there." "Or a mountain climber?" "Even there." A dancer in France? Even there. A jungle explorer? Even there. How about an astronaut out in space? Yes, even there. Then Jeremy quietly asked, "Can my string reach all the way to Uncle Brian in heaven?" Yes, even there. Does the string go away when you're mad at us? Never, said Mum. Love is stronger than anger, and as long as love is in your heart, the string will always be there. Even when you get older and can't agree about things, like what movie to see or what game to play in the back seat or what time to go to bed. Ah, that's right. You two should be in bed. And with that, they all laughed as Mum chased the twins back to their beds. Within a few minutes, they were asleep, even though the storm was still making the same loud noises outside. As they slept, they started dreaming of all the invisible strings they have, and all the strings their friends have, and their friends have, and their friends have, until everyone in the world was connected by invisible strings. And from deep inside, they now could clearly see. No one is ever alone.
Books with ink and ink.
All right. So before we sing the children out, I want to invite you to take a minute, put your hand over your heart, and close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. And think of that invisible string. And who is it connecting you to? Is it connecting you to someone who's close by, or someone who's far away, or maybe someone who has passed on? And feel that love right in your heart. And now let's form an arch and sing our children out.
I'm Charlie, and I'm your chat chaplain for this service. I'm using he, him pronouns today. We've come to the place in our service when we're asked to keep this wonderful congregation growing and prospering. We do this by sharing our time, talent, and treasure. We can help on various teams that provide vital services in and out of this building, and or financially. For those online, there's a donate button. For those in the sanctuary, the ushers will pass around baskets. There are also baskets up front for safe parking and relocation support. Thank you all for helping to build a fantastic community.
Hmm. What a lovely arrangement of "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple," that old Quaker hymnal. So thank you, Marianne. If you'll join me in the dedication of our offering with the words that are behind me. We dedicate ourselves and our offerings to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls.
For those of you who have bared witness to my sermons before, you understand that I'm a very unorthodox person. So, in asking for the meditation hymn, I proposed a moment of silence rather than to voice ourselves and to sing out loud. So I'll allow everybody at this time to just take a moment for themselves, for those around us, and those that have passed, to reflect on the future. I will bring you guys in together today with the Missing Man table for our reading. The Missing Man table is an author unknown, and it is a conglomerate over the past 70 years of service members gathering together and coming in a way to honor those. And the military is steeped in symbolism. Every action or move is attached to a purpose. Today's purpose being remembrance. Today's reading is inspired by the tradition of the Missing Man table, a military remembrance ceremony honoring those who never returned home, those still missing, and those carried forward in memory. And if you direct your attention to the table as I read out, you can follow through. The table is small, symbolizing the frailty of one isolated soldier against the vastness of conflict. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions in answering the call to serve. The single red rose reminds us of the lives loved and left behind, and the families whose hearts still carry absence. The slice of lemon reminds us of the bitter fate often endured by those lost to war. The salt upon the plate symbolizes the tears shed by families, friends, and comrades. The glass is inverted, for they cannot join in today's gathering. The chair is empty, not forgotten, but reserved. The Missing Man table is present throughout the military, however, is most often found in what we would call a defect or a dining facility. And so remember, absence is not nothing. Absence is a presence that continues to shape the room. May we honor not only the sacrifice, but the humanity of all who carried in memory this day. So with the sermon today titled, What We Carry Forward, this was asked upon me to come up here and speak. I served for 20 years in the Army. I am a combat veteran, and I just recently retired. I accepted with mixed emotions. When I look at my own remembrance and my reflection about what I had served, there was times where I'd question things, and I had a break in service when I had the opportunity to go to college. During that time, I actually took a job working at Lowe's of all places, and it was kind of the first step into the reality of what outsiders, and by outsiders, I meant those that were civilians or had not served, what it was for them on a Memorial Day. I didn't realize the barbecue, the charcoal sales, and the red, white, and blue petunias were going to be massive in regards to what Lowe's meant for Memorial Day. I thought it was kind of strange, but that was my opinion because this was a holiday that was set for the remembrance of those that have passed. And we can all do that in our own way, but I was just kind of taken back by a major corporation profiting off the loss of others. And that kind of hit deep. And so coming forward today, a lot of these are my personal reflections. They have nothing to do with the United States government. And there are days when silence is not empty. It is crowded. Crowded with names we will never fully know. Crowded with photographs folded into wallets and letters, never finished, and uniforms that still smell faintly of places that are now only a memory. Memorial Day is one of those days. For some of us, this is personal way that cannot be softened into metaphor. I spent years around the rituals of the military, around the cadence of ceremony, around polished boots and folded flags and rehearsed precision. And there is a meaning in those rituals. Deep meaning. Humans have always needed ritual when standing near grief, because grief itself is too large to approach empty-handed. But I remember one moment in particular. It was not during a speech, not during a salute, not during an anthem. It was after. Most people had already begun drifting away. Conversations had quietly restarted. Chairs were being folded. The ceremony was officially over. And I remember looking over and seeing one soldier still standing completely still, just still, not rigid in formation anymore, not performing military bearing for an audience, just standing there alone with whatever memory had reached them when everyone else began returning to ordinary life. And I remember thinking how often grief works like that, how ceremony has edges, but grief does not. The schedule ends. The service concludes. The uniforms are packed away. But for many people, remembrance does not happen cleanly inside designated moments. It arrives later, quietly, in the grocery store, in the middle of the night, in the silence after everyone else has gone home. And that moment stayed with me because beneath all the symbolism of the military, the flags, the medals, the language of honor, was something profoundly human. A person missing another person, not strategy, not politics, not abstraction, just love colliding with absence. For me, it's the names that never leave me. Specialist Adams, Leftrick, Sergeant Daniels, and Sergeant First Class Santos are just some of those names I carry with me every day. There is a temptation on days like this to smooth the edges of war into something noble and distant, to turn grief into pageantry, to let flags and rituals do the works of feeling for us. But grief does not want to be stylized. Grief wants to be witnessed. There is a form of patriotism that stops at gratitude, but there is another form that continues past gratitude into responsibility. A love of country that is not satisfied with the sacrifice alone, but insists on learning from it. This holds deeply with everyone within their own respect. Everyone carries Memorial Day in a different way. Some people are tied to it deeply. Some people are rooted with it from the day they were born. Some people know little of it. Some people, it's a memory from a long time ago. For me, every year, it's a year, every day that I would reflect on. I grew up with 20 years of service as a child, enlisting at 19 years in the Army and retiring at 39. I'd spent more time in the military than I had spent away. So it holds a different purpose. And prior to that, I come from a military family. My dad had served 33 years in the Army. And before that, his dad, and so on and so forth, to where I'm now a 7th generation veteran. And every member of my family looks at it a little differently. My mom has passed, and she was not a service member, but she served those service members. When my dad was on his 4th deployment, He was a battalion commander. And at night, when the flights would come in, my mom would wake and go to every single flight to ensure that somebody was there when these soldiers got off the aircraft. I was in high school at the time, and I would go to these ceremonies. And at every single one of these ceremonies, they would offer a flag to everyone that came through there, just a little flag. Ironically, I carried mine through with me into my enlistment, into my subsequent deployments later on, and wrote down every single campaign on there. Because while some things are going to be memories for others, a lot of them fade. And so we return finally to what we carry. We carry the names. We carry the silence. We carry the absence that still shapes us. But we also carry something else, if we are willing. We carry the possibility that remembrance can soften us without weakening us. That grief can deepen us without breaking us. The love of country can expand into love of humanity itself. One of the toughest things that happened to me was retiring. And for those of you that don't know me very well or personally, as I stated, I served 20 years. That is the bare minimum to retire from the military. I had a higher calling. I wanted to continue my service. I wanted to go to about 28 years. I was forced into retirement by the current administration for being a transgender service member. When I look at days like today, I think of all the progress and all the sacrifices and the loss of everyone that's go before. And it pains me that it's been removed. Memorial Day for me is for those folks. It is not for administration. It's not for politics. It's purely for those folks that can no longer be with us. We carry the possibility, and that means a lot. For some folks, it's unknown whether their family member will ever come home. In my service at 7th Infantry Division, I was a public affairs officer, and I'd coordinated repatriation of 12 Korean War veterans that were finally recognized after 75 years of service. For most of these folks, their family had long gone. Nieces, nephews, some children still remained, but the closest of kin had passed on. When I made phone calls to these families for the first time, it brought closure that they hadn't had in 75 years. They had been missing, presumed dead. We don't know. But they had the closure finally, and that brought them comfort in their life. I had the pleasure of meeting with Tim Nacken, who was actually a resident in the area, whose uncle, Corporal Frederick Higgins, was killed in 1950 in the Korean War. And Corporal Higgins' sister was still alive. And she used to joke that the only reason he joined the military was to stop babysitting her. And so that brings some comfort and joy to see that after all those years, she could reconnect with her brother in a different way. And I called Tim, the nephew, to state, hey, we've identified your uncle's remains and he's going to be coming home. We're going to give him a full military ceremony. He had never met his uncle, but he had remembered him. And he burst into tears. When we went forward, we did the ceremony, and he was just so grateful for everything. I got to meet Sandy as well. And it went deeper than that. The memory was there, but it got to carry forward. I called Tim a few months later. Ironically, he didn't expect a call from me. I thought we were done. You did your business. Thank you. You brought him back. You presented the flag. Corporal Higgins was presented a silver star that was never received because it was posthumous. And because he had no family other than his sister at that time, they didn't know what to do with it. So we called him up again to say, hey, congratulations, your uncle's being presented with a silver star. And for those of you that don't know what that means in regards to level, it's the third highest award for valor. This is something that is not given out freely. We took a memory that Tim had of his uncle. We turned it into closure. But then he started to understand the sacrifice when we read the memo about why he was being presented it and what Corporal Higgins did to ensure that the lives of those around him got to remain. So may we remember fully. And in remembering, may we be changed, not into people who carry war more lightly, but into people who carry life more fiercely. With setting an intention, I want us to look at ourselves as we leave this space and return to the rhythms of ordinary life. May we carry this intention with us to remember that every person we encounter carries burdens we may never fully see. To move through the world with greater tenderness, deeper patience, and renewed commitment to one another. To honor memory not only through words, but through acts of compassion, justice, and peace. May we carry grief gently. May we carry love fiercely. And may we help build a world where fewer lives are given to violence and more are given the chance to fully bloom. Now, if you please, may rise in spirit or body to 413. Go now in peace. Yeah.
Now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
So for those of you who don't know the way that we operate and run the congregation here anytime we go into a service, whether it be the Reverend Margot or somebody like myself as a guest speaker, we work through our celebrant and we develop the sermon. And I tried to keep it deeply rooted into what I held close to me. And I kept it very short and brief. I'm a person of many words, but some words can't express everything. And it was quoted today to me that, wow, these hymns are some of the shortest we'd ever seen. And I was like, yeah, because I don't feel comfortable standing up and singing, but I'm fine with talking. So, and afterwards, I will say that I'm going to be available because there's nothing that brings comfort to me more than just communicating with other people. So, our closing words that I had. As this gathering comes to a close, may we leave with open hearts and steady spirits. Carry the light forward. Carry forward the names, the stories, and the quiet humanity behind every act of remembrance. Carry forward the courage to meet grief honestly and the wisdom to let it deepen, not harden the heart. As we go back into the world, may we remember that peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but presence of compassion, dignity, and care for one another. I've got to share with you my story and what it means to me. With all of you as you walk out, hold it deeply. Tomorrow is a day that I hold close. For you, it's what you want to make it. But all I ask is that you go in love, go in remembrance, and that you go in peace.
So as we prepare to extinguish the chalice, maybe just a word that it isn't the length of the service that matters, it's the message that was sent and received. And a thank you to Stef for this very personal remembrance with us. Now, if you'll join me in the chalice extinguishing words behind me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And if you will rise and join me in our closing blessing psalm.